Hey guys, how you going? Welcome to the Positive Experience podcast, where we look at the good, the bad and the ugly in living your best life. Today's segment is called In the Trenches, where we look behind the scenes at what's happening in the clinic. Hey guys, how you going? I'm Leki.
I'm Aarvi.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of the Trenches segment of the Positive Experience podcast. Welcome aboard. So we're looking at the good, the best, and the good, the bad, the ugly in living your best life, and this is our in-clinic chat. And today's segment is on Q&A, and the questions and answers that we have for you is presenting the sporting club context. So, being red-blooded Australians, we love sport, we love whatever it may be. Usually it's footy in the winter, cricket in the summer, or some variation of that. And being in the health field, Aarvi and I, we're helping a lot of people in the community, especially sporting clubs. So if we give 2019 a bit of a snapshot, our primary partners were Iron Armour Academy and Footscray Rugby Union Club. And, though there's great people behind these organisations, from juniors all the way up to seniors, and as a byproduct of sport, people get wounded, unfortunately, especially if you're playing a contact sport. There's lots of collisions, and I'll talk about injuries in a moment. But Australians love sport. Australians love to be a part of something, and sporting clubs is usually where we tend to congregate and have a lot of fun together. So I'm not sure if there's a particular, maybe if you name your top 2 injuries that you remember off the top of your head last year, Aarvi, down at Doggies or even at Iron Armour. Was there any scary ones that you saw initially, or was there just a high volume of knees and ankles that you saw? Tell us some war stories.
Common one was since it's a very high contact sport, saw a lot of shoulder dislocations or shoulder subluxing. What's that? Shoulder pops out, then it pops straight back in. Ooh. Saw a fair few of them, I reckon, throughout the season, at least once every couple of weeks from all the different grades. Mm-hmm. And the other big one was, since it's rugby union, they have this thing called the blue card. Everyone probably knows if you follow rugby union. It's the concussion. So pretty much they've jumped a lot onto acute brain injuries because it's quite serious. Leki probably can explain. He's probably explained in his past podcasts about how serious those injuries can be.
Yeah.
So that one was concussion. So the 2 big ones were dislocations and concussions. So concussion was really big, and Rugby Australia brought it in quite significantly with the blue card. So if the ref gives out the blue card, that pretty much means that player's done for the rest of the game, and they got to get clearance before they come back in. And there's plenty of more information we can go into detail about that. But overall, I think that's a very good idea, because over time, if you keep getting those hits to your head, it doesn't end up well. You can get like memory loss and stuff like that. Do you want to elaborate what happened to yours when you got your...
Yeah. So a quick snapshot. So I got a few concussions over the years playing rugby. My last year playing, around 2014, I got 3 concussions in one season. And on the 3rd episode of that concussion in that one season, I had memory loss. I had behavioural change. My wife Belinda was telling me I was really aggro and short fuse. I had memory loss. You mentioned that I forgot my Facebook password for 2 weeks, and I couldn't run because the jolting in my head gave me headaches. So I had intense headaches. So if you think of the brain, what does the brain control? Controls pretty much everything that you do. So if you injure the brain, a lot of the signs can vary, and if you have any of those signs, according to the blue card, or the international standard is SCAT testing. It's an acronym, so SCAT-5. Then if you have any one of these symptoms, you're immediately ruled out, which is something that we're really passionate about. So today's the theme of Q&A is, imagine yourself being in a sporting club and, a little's injured, or, you've pulled your hamstring, it's a fresh injury. Generally, you're going to ask someone around you what's the best thing to do, especially if it's the first time that you've bung your hammy up, or, if you've had a head knock. And one of the things in a sporting club is that everyone has the best intentions, but at the same time, you want to make sure the advice that you're getting is spot on, so that you can make sure your health's in good order and that you recover as soon as possible, so you can take the field and enjoy your time doing whatever sport that your endeavor is. So, a common protocol that we can follow, something you may have heard of, is called the RICE protocol. And RICE is pretty straightforward. You can Google it. There's lots of information, but the acronym stands for rest, ice, compress, and elevate. There's some versions that have an R, so RICE-R, and the R stands for referral. And, as a starting point, that's a reasonable place to start. And that's where sports medicine has been for the last 15, 20 years, in scattergunning this advice called rice. That rhymes. So the Aarvi can elaborate on a newer type of advice that's coming out, because with anything, technology is always advancing and updating. Your mobile phones, you're not carrying around the same brick phone as you did 5-10 years ago. And the same thing in health. As we start to understand a bit more about the body, then the advice can also change. Medications can change, and so advice on acute sports injuries can also change. So there's a new acronym here, and it sounds pretty funky. What's it called, Aarvi?
So the new acronym, so RICE is pretty much on the way out. A lot of clubs are still using it, but they really want it. So Sports Medicine Australia and everyone else, they did new research, and it's actually peace, love. So it's pretty straightforward. Peace, love. It's a lot longer, pretty similar to RICE. The only thing is they've taken out the ice bit really, and they just want the body to do its thing. We'll maybe in future podcasts we might discuss more into it and more in depth, but at the moment, pretty much just taking the ice in. And they also say avoid anti-inflams, so don't take any medications early in, because ice and anti-inflams sort of interfere with the body trying to heal. So pretty much what this acronym means: let the body do its thing, because your body knows best, and body knows how to heal best. So don't do anything that may harm it, especially in the early days. And then so in the comment section we're going to put in the full acronym, peace, love, because I won't go into detail now because it might take a bit of time, but just have a read in the comments and you can see what it stands for. And we're definitely going to be bringing that out with our when we do for sporting clubs and stuff like that. So did you want to elaborate what's happening with Pro Trainer?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of questions, a lot of advice, people mean well. And I think it's important that there's professional advice so that you get, the right direction on getting yourself back on your feet. Okay, so Pro Trainer is our program where we're partnering with community sporting clubs, also partnering those sporting clubs to university students who have all the necessary certifications. So they've got first aid, CPR, and working with children's checks. And the university students are needing clinical placement hours. They need 140, 160 hours. And if they're volunteering their time to get experience in a sporting club, it's a win-win situation for those two groups. And then we have our physios, and our physios are also applying that sort of higher caliber care. And the physios can also mentor the sports trainers and first aiders, and they also supply expertise to the sporting club. So if you're a sporting club, from your perspective, you've got a lot of eyeballs there with students and volunteers who are certified first aiders, and then you've got physios as well that can provide the high level care. If you're a first aider, you're also getting, or a student, you're a university student, you're getting your clinical hours that's valuable, you're helping people in the community, plus you're getting mentored by experienced physiotherapists. And if you're a physio, from a business side, obviously we're building relationships and providing a service. So from that side, being realistic, that's definitely a benefit. But at the same time, it makes us feel good when we're imparting our advice and expertise to these students who are budding and learning early days in this field, and also being a part of the community, being in a sporting club, because we're all proud Aussies and we enjoy sport, and we also enjoy being a part of the community and enjoying the sport. So that's our Pro Trainer program in a nutshell. We've been pumping it up over these last couple of weeks as a team. We have nine university students, first aiders. We have 4 Pro Trainers, level 1 sports trainers, and we have 5 physiotherapists across our Pro Trainer class of 2020. And we're very, very close, almost there in pumping up our partnerships for 2020. And couldn't be prouder of the effort that the guys have put in with our training sessions. And so check out all our socials. We've been putting up some snippets on what we've been getting up to. And we really look forward to having a great year with Pro Trainer this year. So onwards and upwards. Yep. It's been awesome.
So as you can see, the theme was it all links in with one another: sports clubs, sporting injuries, and Pro Trainer. They all come in hand. So obviously to play sport, if you play team sport, you're at a club, and then through the club you get some injuries that usually happen, and that's where Pro Trainer comes in to help manage those injuries and get you back on the field. So they're all working hand in hand. And especially, everyone's pretty fresh early in the season, so that health side's sort of not looked at the start. But as the middle of the season comes in, that's where everyone wants a team happen in the middle of the season. So why not have us there early and pro trainer there early, and so we can sort of, not eliminate, but just help prevent any injuries happening during the season, so we can pick up. So we have this cool testing tool that we have going as well. In-screen, full-screen bat test.
Bat test, yeah, absolutely.
So I know this is a different topic, but bat testing, we do a full head-to-toe testing. Pretty much, you can come into the clinic, you can just book in online or whatever, and then it's a full hour, and we work with you guys and try and find out what any strengths and weaknesses you have, and then we give you a full report, and then send you off. And at least that will be good, especially if you got a season coming up or anything like that, and you want to see what's lacking, you can go work on that at the gym or anything like that. They're really good, especially pre-season and stuff like that.
Tighten up the cogs. As they say, prevention is better than a cure. So you want to avoid yourself getting shot down, and if you can prepare your body as best you can, then you can stay out of the sniper's scope, so you won't get shot down. So to backtrack, the theme of today's The Trenches episode is Q&A, and Aarvi and I were thinking, what's a common question that sporting clubs or people that are in sporting clubs ask is, when they get a fresh injury, what do I do? So yes, we've introduced this idea of RICE, and RICE has served well for what we knew, but the trend now is moving towards peace and love. And keep an eye on this comment. The comment section of this video will have a little diagram there to give you the individual acronyms. So each of the letters of peace and love stands for something, and that's where sports medicine and health is the direction that we're heading. So we're pumping up Pro Trainer, we're all about that. We're pumping up bat testing, we're all about that. But at the same time, we're about trying to give you the tools to help yourself so you can stay happy and healthy. And as always, our tagline is making healthy simple. So that's it for us today, guys.
Yeah, just to add on, when we drop in our first, is it hard slog?
Yeah, so hard slog segment.
Yeah. First segment next week, pop in. So I think if you've seen Insta post where Leki posted, it's going to be first video that's going to be coming in next week with, won't surprise the guests. I guess you guys can wait. So that's it. That's Q&A from us from today in the trenches, and just keep an eye out for the hard slog. Until then, see you later.
See you guys. Yeah, buddy.